The city has to follow its own rules, particularly those that are there to protect human life.
City Councilman David Carr, one of several officials, calling on the city to close St. John Villa Academy migrant shelter after they discovered the fire department found safety hazard issues that could endanger the lives of people living there. And it's not just St. John Villa. Officials claim the FDNY has reportedly found violations at about half a dozen shelters, including 320 West 31st Street, Manhattan, 481 Highland Boulevard, Staten Island, 746 Elton Avenue, the Bronx, 8045 Winchester Boulevard, Queens, 185 East 7th Street, Manhattan.
Well, let's get into this story. Well, it took the FDNY in New York, the FDNY, the fire department of New York City, to shut down illegal migrant shelters on Staten Island. That's right, folks. It took the law that is on the books to shut down these shelters because they weren't safe. They were not safe to live in to begin with. This was part of the things people were saying at these protests. They didn't want these people there. They didn't want these people, basically put around children, the danger, because there were schools surrounding this particular one, St. John's Villa, which was surrounding several schools. There was a girls' schools across the street, and there was already migrants hanging around in the parking lot of that particular school. But this is funny that basically, and the FDNY has not finished yet, because they're going to check each one of these shelters to make sure that the safety codes are in order. So we're going to read this off, and this is off of Spectrum News, off of NY1, New York 1, which is the local, our local news channel here if you have Spectrum. FDNY shuts down migrant shelter at former Catholic school on Staten Island. After months of protest outside the former St. John's Villa Academy, a different kind of gathering took place. This time, a celebration after migrants staying at the school were moved out. The city said the site could fit up to 300 people, but it was closed after the FDNY launched a series of fire safety inspections at the city-run migrant shelters following reports of possible safety violations. We knew this wasn't the right place for this, resident Scott Harrod said. A vacate order was issued at the former Catholic school, with FDNY officials saying that the building had no sprinkler systems or working fire alarms. Hours later, migrants were headed out on a city bus, but still unclear where they were sent. It wasn't a place for anyone to live. This is a school, like I said. This is not a living facility. So I'm happy that this has been resolved, resident Marjorie Fama said. That's an old building. It didn't surprise me that the building was not up to code, resident Stella Belvedere added. The fire department also closed a migrant shelter at the former Hungerford School in Stapleton, citing asbestos concerns. In a statement, a city hall spokesman said they're willing to work with the FDNY to ensure migrants are housed in safe conditions. Asylum seekers have undergone long and arduous journeys before arriving in New York City, and we are committed to keeping them safe while staying at emergency shelters. When identifying emergency sites, we work with agencies to ensure we are taking the proper fire protection measures, the statement read. Bullshit, because they just threw them in there. They just took these sites, reopened them, didn't even bother to do a safety check. They just brought the people in. Staten Island Borough President Vito Faselli said 170 migrants were admitted to the site at the former St. John's Villa before its closure. They were only there for a few weeks as Faselli and other elected officials fought a legal plan with the city to try to close the shelter. Residents in the area also backed the lawsuit, citing safety concerns for the immigrants and the community. The FDNY obviously saw what we saw, and we were telling them that the building is ridden with problems. So it wasn't the right place for it, and wasn't the right place for them either, said Scott Hurt, who lives next door to the former school and was part of the lawsuit. The Adams administration said St. John's Villa was never intended to be a long-term shelter. Bullshit. The city will discuss the site at a community board meeting on Tuesday. Yeah, the community board will tell you, no, we don't want this here. We don't want this on Staten Island. And it's the same thing with the shelter on the other side of the island over at Midland at the nursing home, which basically nursing home residents were removed from there. Yes, they were removed. There are plenty of videos online of former nursing home residents who said they were told to leave this place. You know, that they had a short amount of time to find a new place to live. See, the thing is, one, these people shouldn't even be here. They should be transported back. As I said before, in order to tackle the problem in New York, and this is how I recommend to handle this. First thing first, the single men that came across with no families on there should be immediately returned either across the border or to original country of origin. Because most of the men that have come to New York are from West Africa. Now you may say, so, well, that's kind of racist and all that. But it says, let me ask you a question. Why did they come across the Mexican border? They didn't come across a ship. They didn't come across in a plane. You know, they flew over to another country, specifically South America. If they were looking for sanctuary, they should have stayed in Brazil when they arrived. No, they didn't stay in Brazil. They crossed over into Central America, came straight up through Mexico, and crossed at the Mexican-U.S. border. So when I say that they should be returned there because they had the moment to get legal residency in the country where they arrived, which they were welcome when they arrived because they paid for their ticket to go across. They didn't pay for a ticket to come across into the United States because they didn't have the proper passports or approval to get into the United States. So what did they do? They came in here illegally. Do you understand? You know, because I love the word salads they throw. Well, these are migrants and stuff like that. No, there are illegal migrants. They're coming here illegally. They're violating U.S. law. You know, these are laws, immigration laws that we've had on the books for many years now. There's nothing wrong with immigrating here legally, if you do it legally. But see, here's the other situation. And before I go on with the rest of the plan, most of these, especially men that are coming across, whether they're from Africa, whether they're from Central America, whether they're from South America, whether they're from China, a lot of them are criminals. Yes, I said that. And, you know, another president said that as well. And you may say, so, well, that's kind of being racist. How do you know they're all that? Because here's the one reasoning behind this. 1980s Mariana boat lift. If you're not familiar with that, take a moment, go through your history books on this. This was a time when Castro decided to empty his jails and put them on boats, and people that were against his own government put them on boats and sent them across to the United States, to Florida specifically, to Miami.
La idea de una revolución, quien no tenga un corazón que se adapte al esfuerzo y al heroísmo de una revolución, no los queremos, no los necesitamos.
It is a typical story for so many Mariel refugees. Arriving alone, not a penny in their pockets. Their only skills, the ones they learned in jail. Some of them took to their old ways, creating a fear in South Florida that grew out of violence. September 12, 1981, a Miami police officer is shot dead. The gunman, Jorge Martinez, is from Mariel. September 13th, a robbery at a Burger King. A store clerk pulls out a can of mace. The robbers shoot her dead. The gunmen are from Mariel. February 2nd, 1982, Sergio Ortega Roja hijacked an Air Florida jet with 77 aboard, back to Cuba. His home port, Mariel.
And same thing was happening in Haiti. Haiti took the advantage of emptying their jails out and throwing them on boats and sending them across on there. Because what happened on the same thing that's happening right now? The crime went up. Basically, the minority communities were being screwed, as far as the funds going to help their communities was being diverted into the illegal migrants that were coming ashore in Miami. And it's happening all over again. This is the same repetitive, and it's happening today. The other half of this, and I'll tell you this as far as the other ones, other than the single men, is that if they happen to be families, they need to be vetted that they are family members, that it's a wife, a husband, children, that they all are obviously families. Once that has been verified, they can be put into the process of getting on their butt. They're going to have to go to the back of the line. They're going to have to wait longer and pay a penalty in the end for that once they become a naturalized citizens. Now, if they happen to be not families, basically if they're not a blood related, they are to be deported as well. Now, it's just something that in my thoughts on there needs to be refined a little bit. But like I said, the first thing that needs to be done is all these single men need to go back to the country of origins. Plain and simple. NYPD needs to go on a little bit of sprees, especially places like Queens, and shut down these, and in the Bronx, these drug mills, these prostitution rings and all that. They need to go on a rampage on there to shut these things down, because they're out in the open. They're out in the fucking open. You see how pissed off the people on Staten Island are. You see how pissed off the people in Chicago is right now. You've seen those videos already over on Nate the Lawyer, that he's been showing. People are pissed because government funds, state funds, are being diverted out of our communities. We have become the second-rate citizens in our own country. The people that come in, I'm sorry for, if they've gone through the situations, but a lot of them are not going through situations. They're being told to come to this country. And like I said, these countries have taken the moment to empty out their jails as well. How long before they start dumping a shitload of MS-13 into our country? Because there are one or two countries that have arrested a lot of MS-13. How long before they dump that into our country? The crime rate is high right now. The police have their hands tied. We need to uncuff our police, our legal, our courts, and finally do the correct job. But this is the things that are happening right now in New York and Chicago and many other places. These liberal cities that they let this. They said, well, we're sanctuary cities. It's okay, let them come in, but it was never on their doorstep. Now that it's on their doorstep, they don't want it anymore, because they know this is the problem. It is hitting into the funding, into what runs the city. And the thing about it is, places like New York are not doing well tax-wise, because basically the tourists are not coming like they used to. But who am I to say about this but a man with the show?
Thanks for watching. Before you go, please comment, like, and share this video. Also, if you haven't yet, please subscribe, as this helps the reach of our channel. Finally, as a content viewer, you have that ability to help support this and many other channels. Especially now more than ever since the passing of a new law in the United Kingdom that will diminish the reach of many channels and affect our advertisers. If you wish to help grow this channel by financial support, you have two ways. There are two links in the description below. The first will send you to a pay site where you can make a monetary donation. The second will send you to our gear store where you can purchase t-shirt, mugs, and other specialty items. Any additional discounts will be listed on the main page. Once again, thank you for watching and your support.